The Swedish Empire is known for many things. Who am I kidding? Most people don't even know they existed. But for those giga chads like myself who know about it, what's often talked about is their military accomplishments. Breitenfeld, Lund, Narva, Pol, and actually maybe not Poltava. But what isn't talked about too much is the Swedish Empire's overseas ventures. So today, in the first video on this channel, we'll be looking at Sweden's North American colony, New Sweden. The colony of New Sweden encompassed parts of the modern day states of Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. Many in Sweden saw the fat stacks of cash that England and Netherlands were making, trading tobacco and fur in the New World, and wanted to join in some of that beaver killing action. And so in 1637, convinced the Chancellor Axel Ostrornana to give them the go-ahead, which is quite impressive considering Sweden was currently embroiled in the 30 Years' War. You would think being in a massive conflict that would kill tens of thousands of Swedes, including a king, would take priority, but apparently the Chancellor just hated beavers or something. The expedition was to be led by the Dutchman Peter Munich, the ex-governor of the Dutch overseas colony of New Netherlands. He is most famous for the purchase of Manhattan Island, what is in today's money approximately $1,000, or of time of writing, approximately 1,666 Subway cookies. Yes, I did the maths. December 1637, Munich and a group of settlers, mostly Finnish, set sail from Gothenburg and made their journey across the Atlantic. They arrived on the banks of the Delaware in spring 1638 and established the fort of Christina. After constructing the fort, Munich set sail back to Sweden, but when stopping in the Caribbean, he was caught in a storm and died. However, due to good relations with the native population, the Swedish colonists were able to trade for their crop, which kept them going until 1640, when a ship from Sweden containing supplies and more settlers, as well as the new governor Holland of Ritter, who purchased even more land of the native population, accounting for over 120 miles each side of the Delaware River. This also importantly overlapped with Dutch claims in the area, which is absolutely fine and won't come up again, ever, especially since a mutual threat was encroaching on both Dutch and Swedish claims, the English. They too had purchased land in the region, and immediately started monopolising the beaver slaughtering. So the Dutch teamed up with the Swedish to kick the 60 or so English settlers back to hell, where they belong. In 1642, with profits from the mass murder of beavers at an all-time low, the shareholders of the Swedish West India Company relinquished their control of the colony over to Swedish Crown. They then sent a new governor, and one who would have immense power over the colony. This new governor was a man named Johan Prince, a man I can only describe as a heckin' chunk. Weighing almost 400 pounds, he struck fear into even the bravest of beavers. He was determined to increase New Sweden's influence in the region. He had Fort Christina reinforced and oversaw the construction of a new fort, Fort Ellsborg. The fort, contrary to its name, wasn't to house Santa's little helpers, rather was strategically placed to screw over the Dutch. One thing that set New Sweden apart from other colonizers of the time is that they had decent relations with the Native American population. Unlike the British, who similarly only survived because of the natives and then immediately started killing them with guns and weaponized sniffles, Prince throughout his time as governor made sure to keep good relations with the natives. However, in the late 1640s, New Sweden would go into terminal decline. One of the reasons is that it was pretty much left to languish by the Swedish crown. Well, the Swedish crown having no interest in the colony, the people of Sweden didn't either, to the point where they had to resort to sending convicts and deserters to the colony. Back in the 1640s, they didn't send you to Brazil, they sent you to Delaware. Even at the colony's height, it had no more than 400 people living there. What also didn't help was even though Prince was a good leader, he was an iron-fisted one. A good example of this is when 22 colonists signed a petition against him, claiming they felt unsafe, and accused him of abusing his powers. In an attempt to disprove that last point, he had the leader of the petition shot. In 1653, Prince, who saw the colony was doomed and tired of losing, returned to Sweden. He was replaced by the fourth and last governor of New Sweden, Johan Rising. Rising, I refuse to acknowledge that as a real name, we're gonna call him Johan. Johan had great ambitions for the colony, and for a time it seemed like New Sweden was making a comeback as its population grew to a whopping record high of 368. However, that winter, a bad harvest and subsequent outbreak of disease would devastate the colony. The death blow for New Sweden would come in 1655, when the Dutch, who were sick of New Sweden, sent a force of 117 soldiers and 7 ships and took the colony once and for all. And that's the story of Sweden's one and only American colony. But hey, if it's any consolation to us permaverts Sveaboos, the Dutch would lose their American colony to the British less than 30 years later. Actually, now that I think about it, that's kind of worse. But overall, despite the failure of New Sweden, you can sleep easy tonight knowing that the people of Delaware used to speak Swedish, and we also killed a lot of beavers.